Welcome to our Economic Development Business Series provided by the City of Auburn. Special thank you to our Auburn Area Chamber of Commerce and Downtown Association, Laura Westergaard, they've been very helpful in our business support services here in the last few years. Today you're going to learn a little bit about hopefully writing a business plan, a small business plan, and we have three very distinguished local folks here to talk to you today. First, we have Stephen Bailey. He's with the King County Library System, and he chairs the library's Small Business Committee and works with community agencies throughout the county to promote the library's small business resources. And we have Kirk Davis from Green River Community College. He is a business consultant and business educator here in Auburn and probably at the other satellite campuses as well. He is a commercial banker, small business proprietor, and general manager of a national company, so we'll have a lot to share with you. And William or Bill? Bill Fitchett. Many of you are very familiar with Fitchett, Benedict and Clark. They're a CPA firm right here in Auburn. Been here for over 30 years providing services, and Bill has depth of knowledge that I'm sure you will find very useful as well. So we will go ahead and start off with Stephen from the library system.
What's up a bit? Thanks, Dana. And welcome, everybody. Again, my name is Stephen Bailey, and I'm with the King County Library System. We have the Auburn Library here in town. You should come visit us. Let's get started talking about business research. So this session is all about developing a business plan. And just like in high school, whenever you have some big project to do, you have to do your homework first. The library, just like in high school, can help with that. So we're here to talk about all of the resources that the library has to assist people starting out in a small business or established businesses as well. A little bit about public libraries in King County. The public library, of course, the King County Public Library has 45 locations all around the county, including here in Auburn. There's also one over in Algona and out at Muckleshoot, as well as in most of the other big cities in the South End. We have two library systems in King County, though. There's another one called the Seattle Public Library you might have heard of. They have 27 branches. The difference between the two is funding and where they're located. Seattle Public Libraries are all inside the city limits of Seattle, and the King County Libraries are all outside of the city limits of Seattle. We're not the same library system, we're two different, but we're friends, and if you live in Seattle, you can get a King County card. More to the point, if you live in Pierce County, down here, you can get a King County Library card. If you live in Tacoma, just about anywhere in the state, actually, you're still eligible for a King County Library card. That's a point we love to make. So let's talk about some of the resources that the King County Library System, as well as some other library systems, have. Most people think of a library, they think of books, and we have lots of books on lots of topics. In fact, I brought some with me today. They're on the back table. Please take a look as you go. And we can check those out, too, if you want to take them with. In addition to books, we have a ton of resources on our website as well. Our website is at kcls.org. And that's mostly what I'm here to talk about today. Those resources are excellent resources to help you do the homework that you need to do to get your business plan together. So we call them databases. Well, what's a database? It's an online store of information. If it's a library database, then it's reliable information, and that's important. This is different from the information that you can find on the internet through Google or another search engine. Because all the information that we have in our databases is accurate, and you can verify it, and it'll be there when you go to search for it again, unlike with Google. So databases are a great, easy way to find the information that you're looking for. Let's talk a little bit about how library databases can help you. What information is in there? Well, we have databases that can help you find, if you're a small business, who your competitors are. You might know off the top of your head one or two, but if you're thinking about starting out, you really should know about all of them, especially in a specific area. We can help you find out exactly who they are and where they are, and how big they are. What are the core issues and trends of your industry? Say you're starting a coffee shop, and you want to get some coffee and sell it to folks, and it's going to be an awesome business. Before you start, you should probably know what's going on in the coffee industry as a whole. what are those global trends that might affect your industry? Coffee bean prices fluctuate wildly. There's consumer demand for organic products, for shade-grown products. You need to know all of that before you start out. Where can you find that information? Come to the library. We can help you find it. Target market demographics. This is one that some people struggle with. How do we find our customers? How do we know what our customers like? How do we know how to reach our customers? Those are things that we have specialized databases. We can help you find out. And then business financial ratios. We happen to have Bill here, who's going to talk about finances. I'm not going to steal his thunder. But we do have great databases that can talk about financial ratios. And if you know those, you can use those to help you develop that business plan, to help you get a little jump start on your financial projections. So let's talk about how to use these. At the library, we have books on the shelf. We organize those books by the Dewey Decimal System. You guys have probably heard of that, right? Show of hands? Yeah, almost everybody. We also organize business information using a numeric system. There's actually two, and the library didn't come up with these. These are government. That's why there are two. There's the SIC, which is the Standard Industrial Code. That's the old one. There's a new one called the NAICS. We shorten it to NAICS. That stands for North American Industry Classification System. Why is that important? Well, every business is assigned a number. And if you know what the number of your business is, it really helps with your research. Why numbers and not words? Because, well, let's go back to the coffee shop example. If you wanted to go and search for all the coffee shops in a certain region, and you searched on those words, coffee shops, you're going to miss the cafes, you're going to miss the espresso stands, you're going to miss the little pastry shops that also serve coffee, all of whom are your competitors. So words are squishy, and words can mean different things, and lots of words can mean the same thing. Numbers, though, are specific. That's why we use numeric systems. So a quick way to find out what your code is, call 888-75-NAICS. The person on the other end, over at the census department, they're the ones that organizes it, we'll be happy to walk you through, ask you some questions, and tell you what your number is. Then, if you have that number written down, that makes the research a whole lot easier. Go to the library webpage at kcls.org. You can do this in the library, or you can do this from home as well. You have to have a library card. We'll talk about that in a second. Click on the Learning and Research tab. It's on the top right. And then that'll load out a whole list of things that you can do. And premium databases is where you want to go next. Once you get there, you're going to see a section for business and industry. Click on that, and it'll give you an entire list of different databases that you can use. Let's talk about finding your competitors, company research. Referenceusa is a great resource for this. Referenceusa is essentially the phone book online, except it's so much better than that. It's a database that has listings for businesses as well as residential information. I'm going to talk about the residential in a second. Let's talk about the businesses first. This is a way for you to again, search in a specific geographic area. It can be the whole United States. It can be down to a specific zip code. It can be a radius search around a point. It can be a census tract if you know the tract number. And then you correlate that with the type of business you're looking for. You can use the NAICS code. You can use freehand search if you want. You can put in coffee shop or airplane manufacturer. We have a couple of those in this area. And those will tell you specifically what company names are in the area. You'll also see the name of the owner, contact information, phone numbers, addresses. You can also dig a little deeper and get even more information. Some broad ranges of financial projections for the company, sales for the last year, number of employees. Really good, valuable information that you can use to figure out the health of the companies around you, how successful they are, and how much of a competition they're going to be. Industry research. Again, what are the trends in your industry? There's a couple of different databases we can use for this. In your slideshows, there's also a handout that walks you through a little bit more of this. I don't have it here. It says Introduction to Business Research, and it'll go a little bit more in depth about some of these topics. I know I'm kind of glossing over them. We have two great resources for industry research. Business Insights is the one I'm going to focus on. That's a great way to find out those industry trends. You can get snapshots of a specific industry. You can find out more about big companies in that as well. You can see SWOT reports. You can see market share reports. When I say SWOT, by the way, does everybody know what that means? No. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. If you want to know more, I've got some books in the back of the table. So industry research, a great way to figure out what those opportunities are going to be for your specific industry, what the threats might be coming up as well. Business news. You can read the Seattle Times, you can read the Auburn Reporter, and get great news. It's not always going to be about business, and it's certainly not going to be specific to your industry, what you're trying to do. We have specialized databases that can get you that information. The one on the left has the worst name, I know, I'm sorry, ABI Informed Trade and Industry. It's a mouthful. But in there, you can search across major business publications like Bloomberg Business Week or Forbes, local publications and newspapers like the Spokane Spokesman Review or the News Tribune in Tacoma, for example, as well as trade journals. And that's really where the value is. Specialized trade journals that are published just for businesses in your industry. And that's where you're going to find those big market projections, those pieces that look really good in a business plan when you're taking it to the bank. Puget Sound Business Journal as well. Yes, you can get Puget Sound Business Journal for free from the library website. I'm going to let that sink in for a second, because that's expensive. Next slide, target market and demographics. Where are your customers? What are your customers like? This is expensive information. That's why I talk about this one. SimplyMap, it costs the library a lot of money to buy and offer back to you guys for free. And the information in it is very expensive. This is market research information from Simmons, which is a major nationwide market research firm, as well as census data, as well as map data. It's all correlated. You can go in and find the number of people who like to eat chocolate chip cookies in your zip code. I mean, think about that. That's crazy. You can find this exact number. And it's not the easiest thing to use. I'm going to put that out there first. SimplyMap is a poorly named product. But the library is here not only to give you access to it, but to teach you how to use it and to walk you through that process. So again, you can get to these from home. You can also come to the library. We'll sit down with you one-on-one and help you. That's what we're here for. Back to Referenceusa for a second. I mentioned that there's business listings. There's also residential listings. If I had it up live, I would do a little search. I'd throw Kirk's name in, and we could see exactly where he lives. We could see an estimate of how much he owes on his mortgage. We could see a little bit of financial information about him, his annual income. I won't do that to you, I'm sorry. It's scary, the amount of information that's in this database. And I say that not to scare you, but I say that to let you know that you can leverage that information for your own good. There's a quick and easy way, actually, that you can do marketing. You can think about Referenceusa as a way to do down and dirty marketing. You can use the lifestyle section, and that'll show you. I've got pulled up here. You can barely see it. It's showing this lifestyle piece here, and I've looked in the 3 zip codes in Auburn, and I've clicked on gourmet food and wine. Let's say you're starting a company that makes specialty candies. So I clicked on gourmet food and wine, and this runs through the data for all the people living in these 3 zip codes, and it finds the ones that are interested in gourmet food and wine. How do they know that? Well, have you subscribed to a magazine about gourmet food and wine? That's what they're tracking. There's other factors in there as well that add into the equation. The record count here is 9,128 people. I mean, that's great information to know to put into your business plan. There's 9,000 people that live in the city of Auburn that like gourmet food. If I showed the View Results button here, you'd have the names and addresses of all those people. What can you do if you have names and addresses in an Excel spreadsheet? You can put it through a mail merge, which is a word techie thing, and print out mailing labels. You could have a postcard designed, print out all the mailing labels, send it only to the people who you know are going to be interested in your product. That's going to save you money. That's down and dirty marketing. So Referenceusa, another great tool for you. Now, I've talked a lot about the library and what we do. Let me reiterate a couple of things for you. Everything that the library does is free. Everything we have to offer is free. Let's say I'm sure this doesn't apply to anybody in this room. Let's say you came to the library 5 years ago and you checked out some books for your kid and he lost them and then you never came back because you maybe have some fines on your account. That's okay. That's okay. You can still use the databases. That's fine. We don't mind. You can still come into the library. We won't yell at you. The library cop thing, that's not true. So, not out of your mind. We want to be your friend. Come in and talk to us. We'll help you out. I'm going to turn it over to Kirk now. He's going to talk about the nuts and bolts of writing a business plan. At the end of the session, if you want to learn more about what the library can do for you, I'm going to be back in the back by the books. And I can make library cards on site here if you like. I can also, I've got a computer, I can demo some of these resources for you. Okay. Thanks for your time. That's great.
Stephen, thank you. That was a fantastic presentation. And my clients use this all the time. It's my first recommendation. I'll just mention that I had a client wanting to do a tap room, which is a beer place, and we were just trying to decide locations, and he went to use SimplyMap, and the question was, where are the beer drinkers at in the local area? And we were thinking east side. SimplyMap showed us that the most premium beer that my grammar will suffer had been drunk, was in Auburn, Washington. And so he had to rethink his business plan to relocate in Auburn. So there are powerful, powerful things you can learn. And the King County Library System has been marvelous to put together small business resources that are free, that are very helpful, and connect you with resources like myself that can be helpful to your business. Now, last night, I just got done teaching a class on how to write a business plan, just last night. And it's a month-long class. We do it once a week for 4 weeks. And a couple came up to me after the class and said, we were thinking about starting a business maybe a couple of years from now, but we felt like you gave us the tools, and we think we can start right away. And that's how my hopes for you. I'm hoping that you feel like you'll get some of the ideas and tools. You'll feel like you can get started sooner on your business. This map that you'll see up here is a step-by-step, I call it stages of starting a business. And I just want to walk you through and give you perspective on a business plan. So the first stage of starting a business is the concept stage. It's the ideas that we have for our business, and I think that stage is never done. I think you're always getting and gaining and adapting new ideas to your business because your marketplace is always changing, your competition is changing. There's so much that we have to adapt to. The second stage is the research, the homework. This is what Stephen was just talking to us about. If there is a failure in business, it's usually from lack of research, lack of homework. But today, with our online resources and our library resources, there really isn't an excuse. There's an amazing amount of information available, and I blow people's minds every time I show them the research opportunities that we have. And I have a saying that Google knows everything and Facebook knows everybody, and they are willing to show you that information. And think what the library knows. It's very, very powerful, and we should all be very successful in our businesses because of that. Now, we're taking the research that we've done, and we're putting it into a business plan. The purpose, now there could be several reasons for a business plan. You know, one would be, maybe it's an operational plan, how are we going to be successful in the business? And maybe another type of plan would be for the employees, what's our playbook for the employees? But our purpose today is to really talk about a business plan that's going to help you raise money for your business. So this is actually making a business case to lenders or to investors that will fund your business. And so that's an important thing. If you've ever watched Shark Tank, you know, people, you've got to come out there and pitch your business. So we're going to talk about that, but we've taken our research, we put it into a plan, but before we go for the money, we want to protect everything. That's our protection stage. So that's where we get our LLC, maybe our S Corp or C Corp, and we protect the business, we protect you financially, we protect the business. We put in place copyrights, trademarks, perhaps patents that will, again, give intellectual protections to our materials. But we want to get you fully protected before we go for the money, so we have a well-researched business plan, we've got you protected, and then we go for the money. Now, through this whole process of research and ideas and planning, you've been putting together a startup checklist. So that's stage 6 is actually, once you've got the money, now you're going to go through your checklist and actually get everything started. That's That's an exciting time. It's also a frustrating time because nothing happens quick enough. So I have several businesses right now just getting in this startup stage, and just, checking out the boxes. Got to get my website, got to, open up my business checking account. I've got to get my business cards. There's just all these little tiny details. Got to get my insurance in place. So you're getting all these little tiny details in place, and then you're in the first mile stage. This comes from a Harvard business professor who talks about the first mile being break even in your business. Now, before you break even, you're actually burning cash. The cash is burning up, and they call that a burn rate in investment circles. What's your burn rate? And then once we get past break even, we're actually building cash in your business. The sad truth is, a majority of businesses, these are statistics from the National Federation of Independent Businesses before the recession, 6 out of 10 businesses were just breaking even or losing money. So, and as a banker, I was a business banker with Bank of America and US Bank, I was still turning down 6 or 7 loan applications out of every 10 that would come to me in the height of a boom. And so a lot of businesses don't operate profitably, and I'm here today and we're here today to turn that trend around. So once we get you building up cash in your account, and you're not one of those break even or lose money businesses, then you can reinvest that money for growth. And so that's where this whole thing is headed. Now I want to get back to the business plan. I want to give you some special knowledge that nobody else has that I can find on the internet. I should have looked at the library, but this is very rare information. I get to do this every day for a living with the SBDC. And when we first start a business plan, we actually start with the financial projections. And of course, we're going to hear about that in a few minutes. The financial projections themselves are a mini business plan, because now you're going through all the financial assumptions of your business. And then we do our business research. We do our business homework, and then we put that together into a plan. However, I'm going to teach you a new approach to business planning called pitch, then plan. So when I was in banking and I would ask people for a business plan, they would usually come back 6 to 8 months later with the business plan, or sometimes not. It was very difficult to write a business plan. If any of you have tried it, it's been a very difficult situation. When I talk to my peers who help other people with business plans, I ask, how long is it taking your people to do business plans? And they'll say, too long. It takes way too long. 4 months, 6 months, 8 months. It's taking a long time to put together a business plan. And yet my clients are successfully putting a business plan together in less than a month, usually within just a couple of weeks, because we walk them through these steps. One of the places where we get stuck in putting a business plan together is we write up our business plan, we follow the template, and we do all these steps, and then the very last thing they talk about is the financial projections. And so then we do the financial projections, and we say, oh no, I'm not going to make any money. So then we go back and change the business plan, change the projections, change the business plan, change the projections, and it just takes so long to get that to work out. But if you'll get your numbers right first, you've written most of your business plan. The financial assumptions, how much it costs to get you into your business, what those monthly operating expenses are, how much you're going to charge for your products, how many customers you need. People ask me, they go, and by the way, when you do financial projections, you're just making up numbers. You just use your imagination, and then you start to add the research on actual costs. But people say, how do you project how many customers you're going to get? Because that's a terrible guess. I think I'm going to get this many customers. So what I ask them to do is figure out all of their costs first. What's your cost to get into your business? That's your initial investment. And then what are your monthly expenses? So once you know your monthly expenses, we have to figure out enough customers. And my question to them is, what is your customer count to just break even? And actually, they're kind of surprised that it's not as bad as they thought it was going to be, just to break even. Now, I said, before you take it to the bank, we have to show a reasonable profit because they want to know that you can pay them back. Or if it's an investor, they want to know they're going to make some money. So then we just go for a conservative estimate of sales to actually show a reasonable profit or a reasonable return on investment. Recently, I just had a lady come to see me. She has a very interesting business model, business idea. But her question was, should I use my own money? Should I use the bank's money? Or should I get an investor? So we went through all of the numbers, and I showed her that there will be 155% return on investment in the very first year of her business if we come in with our conservative projections. So that gave her the confidence to actually invest her own money, because she could see a 1-year return on that money. So anyway, it's very, very interesting. Do your numbers. It makes everything a lot easier. Now I'm going to show you the pitch then plan concept. Believe it or not, we actually know, because I was a business banker, but we actually know what investors and bankers, funders, people who fund your business, we know what they want to know about. And these are the 10 things that they really care about. Now, I don't have this broken down into detail for you. These are the big picture ideas. But these 10 things, the market opportunity, the business solution, which is you are the business solution, the market research that you're going to do through Google, Facebook, and through the King County Library databases, and understanding your competition, the marketing plan, the team who's helping you put your business together, the financial projections, and then the current status and the use of funds. These are the questions that an investor has. So the pitch then plan process is to actually put your executive summary together first in the form of a PowerPoint. And we've had so much success with this, it's amazing. But remember, you've done your financial projections first, so you have a real broad understanding of your business from a financial point of view. And then you've put this information together for your investor based on your research. So you've done all this research to understand your competition, to understand your market. I met with a client just 2 days ago with they had a business or marketing advisor, and they were asking for a critique of their business card. And I listened because they were busy talking, and they had this idea and this idea. And I finally asked the question. I said, well, who are we selling to? And that's number 4. Who are we selling to? What's the market research? Who is the customer? And by the time we got done doing our little bit of market research, understanding who they were actually selling to, it totally changed the conversation. It totally changed the whole direction of the marketing. And to me, that's just a fundamental business plan idea. It's really knowing who you should be selling to, how many of those people are there. And with the databases that Stephen was just showing you, you can have remarkable information. You'll know exactly how many people within a zip code are interested in chocolate chip cookies. I mean, it's crazy, but it's good, and it's very powerful. We don't have to guess so much anymore. Very, very powerful information. So these are the questions that they have. We use these as headings on our PowerPoint, and we answer these questions. And in the PowerPoint, you'll see the handout that I have there for you has four little recommendations, just like using 3 or 4 bullet points on each slide, having a picture, so we like to do it very visually. And then if they want a written business plan, you simply go in and narrate each of these slides onto a piece of paper. So it becomes a very simple business plan. Most of the business plans my clients end up doing are like 15, 20 pages. They're really well thought out. They're very thorough. Every once in a while, a banker or somebody will say, there's some more different information I'm looking for than you had here, because our business plans tend to be a little more high level and not as detailed. But then they tell us exactly what they want, and we can go research and find that exact information they want. My experience in banking is investors and bankers don't really know what they want until they see it. And then, so no matter how well you prepare, they'll come back and say, we want more information. But this will do a lot of the heavy lifting. It'll get you right in the ballpark. And I would say 8 out of 10 presentations that we give to bankers and investors have resulted in successful funding without even writing the business plan. I often recommend to my clients that they present a full package of financial projections with financial assumptions, resumes of their team members, and then the PowerPoint that explains the business plan. And then if they want a full written business plan, within a week or 2, you'll have it written up. But again, we've gotten a lot of funding even without the full written business plan, because again, everybody kind of understands the nature of business. They see the thoroughness of your research. It gives them a lot of confidence. And I've got a few good thoughts for you here on this. This is just a little bonus information I'll go through quickly. My MBA program was in strategy and management, and I'm a big fan of strategy and being strategic about business. So I'm going to walk you through these quickly, these 8 levels of strategy to help you be successful. You'll see that number 1 here is the vision level. This is your dream, your vision. It's the end result. It's how you want things to end up. And it's the big picture of what this looks like at the end. Do you hand this business off to your family members? Do you end up selling this business? Does it go public? But what does this look like when it's done? Is this one location? Is this multiple locations? So getting a clear vision of where you want to go. My next recommendation on this list is actually skip down to number 7 and number 8. So get your vision, get your direction, and get into action. That's what level 7 is, the tactic level. A lot of people, they can get so caught up in the planning and the research and all this, they never take any action. You're a lot better off to just get going, take action. And number 8 is the maneuver level, and that is adjust, adjust, adjust. The idea is no matter how well you plan, no matter how well you think it through or research it, it's not going to go the way you thought it was going to go. And I experience this with businesses all the time. And we tried this marketing, we thought this was going to work based on this research, and we find out that customer base doesn't even like us. So we do more research, we figure it out, and we adjust, we adjust, we adjust. This is what makes you successful. The level 8 makes you successful, is your ability to adapt and adjust. Things keep changing all the time. If you've worked in any business for any period of time, you know how everything changes. And we have to be flexible. We have to really adapt ourselves to the situation, but we do as much planning as possible. Now, level 2 through level 6 are ways that we can improve our performance. So if we're lacking knowledge, we can go to level 4 and do more research and get more knowledge. Again, knowledge that will actually improve our performance. I always recommend number 5, having a plan. The plan will not survive reality, but you should have an idea of how you're going to win before you play the game, which is actually stage 2 there. So level 2 is the strategy level. How does a person win in your industry? How does a coffee shop compete against, 3 Starbucks in the neighborhood? And so you have to have a really clear idea how you're going to win before you play the game, and have a plan. That should break down to a plan. In the big picture, number 2, that's maybe a little more broad, a little more big picture. I asked myself the question, how does a small local business compete against Amazon? If you're selling stuff, you're competing with Amazon. And it seems to always come back to the customer experience. If you have an amazing customer experience, people will prefer to come shop with you than spend money in Amazon. Depends on if they can get off the couch or not. But pretty amazing how customer experience seems to be the trump card for small businesses. Now, a lot of times then we take our vision and our strategy, we break it down to a goal, very specific goal with specific deadlines, and we break that down. You are visionary. You have ideas, you have dreams, you know what it looks like at the end, but you are the only people who can function that way. Your employees and the people around you, they need a goal, they need a deadline, they need specific tasks, things to do, or they don't function very well. And so a lot of business owners think everybody thinks like them, and that's not true. You guys are very unique. You operate in a self-motivated way that is different than most other people. Then number 5, the plan level. Number 6 is the preparation level. And I say their setup is 90% of success. So how you prepare, how you rehearse, how you get yourself ready to be successful. And a lot of you already have many years of experience in your field of business. And that has been preparing you to be very successful in your own business. So I just wanted to share the idea of get your vision, get your dream, get into action. And if your performance doesn't get you directly to the end result, you can apply the other levels. So in conclusion, I want to share with you what wins when writing a business plan. You'll see here heart, mind, and wallet. The decision of a banker a lot of times is simply logic. They have a set of parameters, they look at the numbers. It is usually not an emotional decision for a bank or an underwriter who's looking at your loan. However, I've seen bankers, once they kind of get emotionally invested in your idea, which is the heart side of it, they'll work harder, they'll bend the rules, they'll figure out solutions if they're a little bit more emotionally connected to it. Most investors who have the money to invest in your business will not make that decision if it doesn't excite them emotionally. So I ask my clients to actually involve emotions and to evoke emotions in their investor presentations. We have to win the heart and then back it up with logic. Decisions are made emotionally and then backed up with logic. So I'm working with all kinds of businesses, and I give you a lot of different examples, but I tell them if you can't win the heart, if you can't win the mind, you'll never win the wallet. And that's true in marketing as it is in successfully getting funded for your businesses. So I want to thank you for allowing me to give this presentation today. I wish you all a lot of success, and I hope these ideas will help you speed up the process of getting funding and getting you into business. Thank you very much.
Well, now we're going to talk about financial projections. Financial projections are simply the business plan in numbers. It's crucial, planning for the future is crucial for the success of any business. And yet, despite that being the case, most businesses don't allocate resources and time and effort to doing financial projections and financial forecasts. When we talk with clients about financial forecasts and projections, the most common response we get is, well, gee, no one is going to be able to project the future or predict the future accurately, so we think it's kind of a waste of time for us to attempt to do those projections. And we have to agree that it isn't possible to accurately project future results. However, I would submit that the process of going through financial projections is going to be more valuable than what the actual numbers look like. In order to do financial projections, it requires the business owner to sit back and think about, number one, what are my revenues going to be, and we advocate, and we'll go over a little model, but we advocate that particularly for the first year of a business and going forward, we think it's a good idea to project monthly operating results, monthly cash flows, and monthly balance sheets so that we can see what happens. We start with a financial forecast, then from there we develop our estimate of what our costs are going to be to produce the projected revenues. Then we look at what's the impact of those operating results on the assets, liabilities, and equity of the business. The process of going through and doing that is going to force you to think about, gee, if I have X amount of revenues per month and my costs, what are my costs associated with those revenues, and is that going to result in net income or a net loss, and what are the cash requirements going to be to achieve those sales numbers? How much do I have in inventory? What's my investment going to be in equipment? If I'm going to have net operating losses at the outset of a business, how much cash am I going to need to have in order to fund those operating losses? And admittedly, it is kind of a staggering prospect at the outset to go through this process, but it's important, as I think it was Kirk that mentioned, in financial projections, what we really are doing is we're guessing, and we're making the best guess we can. We start with those revenue projections, work it through, and then we look at what are the implications of that first set of assumptions. And not only will we be reworking those projections so that it makes sense and works, it's also the case that a huge benefit of doing this business projections or business modeling is we use that as a benchmark, our projections as a benchmark, and then on a monthly basis, we're going to compare our actual operating results to what our expectations were. That's going to help us identify, gee, if we were estimating that we're going to have sales initially of $20,000 a month and for a first 6-month period, and then have some growth from there. And if in fact it turns out that sales are greater than we forecasted, that's going to translate into some cash requirements, because we're going to have costs associated with producing those additional sales, and those sales are going to be hung up in accounts receivable for a while. So another assumption that we're going to make in those projections is how long is it going to take us to collect our accounts receivable, and we build that into the cash flow estimate so that we can identify borrowing requirements, and it's hugely important in meeting with prospective investors or prospective lenders. If we can walk them through our process of what our thinking was, what these sales and operating costs are going to translate into borrowing requirements, and further, how are we going to pay back the loans? What's the source of the repayment, and how quickly does that happen? If we can incorporate that in a presentation in attracting capital or debt financing, we're going to be far ahead of any of our competitors. And the other thing that's a huge benefit is we're going to understand our business, and we're going to have a real competitive advantage, because we understand, even though going back, it's certainly the case that we're going to be changing it, and as other speakers have mentioned, things don't turn out as we expect, and we're not going to predict accurately, but the process of monitoring and changing helps us in many ways. I
You got to scroll down. You got to scroll down just a bit on the mouse.
Reasons. Oh yes. Okay, the question was how detailed is our projections going to be as far as classifications and types of expenses in our operating projection. And again, understanding that our estimates are not going to turn out as as we anticipate. We don't want to go into too much detail. We want to think about what the costs are. For example, payroll, what we often do is we look at how many employees it's going to take to produce our projected revenues, and then we'll just assign a percentage or load factor to that to estimate what that total labor cost is going to be. Reasons to project financials, by going through the process, we translate our company goals into specific targets, and we have a framework for feedback and control, and as I mentioned, if we have these projections and then we go through a routine process of comparing actual results to what our projections are, we're going to really be able to manage our business rather than kind of waiting to see what happens to us. Among the benefits, the projections provide a model for business performance. They also demonstrate the viability of a new venture. Again, if we're trying to attract investors, or if we're looking for some debt financing, if we can go through this process and explain our thinking and show the assumptions and what the projected results are, we're going to be, I guess, Kirk, in your banking experience, I would venture to say we're going to be ahead of 95% of the other applicants. So it is a huge competitive advantage. But in addition to that, it's a huge advantage in enabling us to manage the business. Now we'll go through the process briefly of financial projection. The process starts with forecasting monthly sales, again, particularly in the first year of a business, but we think on an ongoing basis it makes sense to project our financials on a month-by-month basis. And then in addition to that, as the business becomes a bit more seasoned, maybe in year 2, we're going to have monthly projections, but then we're going to have annual projections for the second year, third year, to give us a longer time horizon. But the first step is to forecast our monthly sales for our first year of operation. We use then that information to estimate what our costs are going to be in producing that revenue. Then the next step is to project a monthly balance sheet to see, what does that look like? What's happening to our asset accounts, liability accounts? Do we have sufficient capital? Are we going to have to borrow or attract additional capital to support the projected operating results? And lastly, we have a monthly cash flow. So we'll go to the next slide here. And our sample company is Auburn Sure Grip, Inc. They're makers of non-fumble footballs. And we're projecting, the first line is our sales forecast, and we're projecting that for the first quarter we're going to have sales of $5,000 a month. The second quarter, those sales are going to increase to $10,000 monthly. Then by July, we're going to get up to $15,000, and then we're forecasting that the balance of the year sales will level at $20,000 per month. The next step is a projected statement of operations, and there the top line is that sales number. Then we have our estimated cost of sales and the resultant gross profit. We're also estimating what our overhead or operating expenses are going to be, and then we have the result, either a net income or net loss based on those assumptions. And as we see there, we're projecting that we will lose money for the first. We'll lose money at the tune of $3,000 a month for the first quarter. As sales increase, that net operating loss is going to go down to $1,000 per month for the second quarter. Then, once we get to July and we've hit $15,000 in sales, we're going to have our first month of net income. Then we're projecting the balance of the year. We're going to have at a $20,000 sales level, we're going to generate net income of $5,000 per month. Now we'll look at the next schedule is let's see, that's cash flow back one to the balance sheet.
Oops, maybe
Oh, do we have?
Is it that one?
There we go, that's it, okay. So if we look at, I guess it's important to say that these balance sheet numbers represent our projections for the end of each of the respective months. We started the company the 1st of January. The balance sheet was much simpler. We had only 3 items on the balance sheet. We started with $20,000 in cash. We had $5,000 in equipment and fixtures, so our total assets were $25,000. We had no debt, and we had capital or common stock of $25,000 to start the company. Now, if we look at where we are at the end of January, geez, our cash went from $20,000 down to $7,000. And what happened there, in order to fund our football our football sales, we needed to acquire $10,000 worth of inventory, and we ended up we had an operating loss of $3,000, so we burnt $13,000 of our cash. If we kind of follow this through, we have operating losses for the next 2 months, so we're going to, we wound up with only $1,500 in cash at the end of February, and that's simply not enough. So we had to go to the bank, and we had to borrow $10,000 on a line of credit. In March, we ended up borrowing another $5,000 in April, and it isn't until we get to July that we begin generating positive net income from operations, and so we're developing net cash from operations. If we follow that through, we get to October is the first month that we're able to begin to make payments back on that line of credit. But in this projection, with these sales and operating results, we're going to be able to make payments on that $15,000 line of credit in October, November, and December, so that we wind up in this model, we wind up at the end of the year with no debt in the company, and we've actually increased our equity from that opening balance sheet where we had $25,000 in capital. In this model, we end up the end of the year with $40,000, which is the result of the $15,000 worth of net income. We've been able to pay back the line of credit, and we get to start the new year with new projections and higher sales, and perhaps we'll end up doing some more borrowing to get through that. But the cash flow, I guess we look at that very quickly. And a couple of key assumptions that we make in estimating what our cash requirements will be. We're estimating in this model that we're going to collect our accounts receivable in 45 days from the invoice date, and we're estimating that our accounts payable we're going to pay 30 days from the invoice date. So as a result of that, as we grow, we're going to have cash requirements in advance of receiving collections on the accounts receivable. But the idea of building this model and going through this process, it's a huge advantage for us in dealing with prospective investors and prospective lenders, but a bigger advantage is it forces us to think kind of beyond the daily routine of working in the business and do what we kind of borrow a term from Michael Gerber's book, The Entrepreneurial Myth, about working on the business rather than in the business. And if we do that, it is going to help us understand the business better. It's going to help us manage the business better. And as I say, it will give us a competitive advantage.
Thank you so much, speakers, for participating today. I think we all have a very good idea of how to develop a business plan. So right now, I'd like to open it up for questions. If anyone has any questions for any one or all of the speakers.
I don't know who may be the best person to answer this question, but as a young entrepreneur, what would be the best advice that you will give to get all this information more shoot down? Because, I mean, I understand all the numbers, all the things that we got to do, but the order, it seems very important, but it seems kind of like it changes all the time. So what would be the following step? Is like, okay, I got the ideas already organized in my head. What would be, who do I contact? Who will be the best guy for me to say, you know what, I think I got everything set up, but who can I trust with this information? Especially because when it comes down to business, it may be a little conflicting. It's like, is this person the right person for me? Is the right fit? What would you recommend for somebody who's pursuing a business? What would be the next step?
Go ahead. I was going to say Kirk. No, seriously. As far as the library's role, what we tend to do is help people find the information they need and then refer them to the right people that can answer their questions. And we do a ton of referrals to the Green River Small Business Assistance Center here in Auburn. It's a fantastic resource that the city has. So I believe anybody can make an appointment with Kirk for free and talk to you.
Our services are at no charge.
Yeah.
But were you saying that you've already got the information together?
Well, as you said, everything comes down to like experimenting the business plan, have the idea. But since, especially being an entrepreneur, is a new business, you don't know, it's like, is somebody doing it based on the research? It's like, it's kind of iffy, but maybe that key ingredient is missing, and just try to figure out where to find it. So.
And I think that looking for business advisors and mentors, and again, the library is a good place for verifying or validating your information. Going to the accountant will help you really think through your numbers and understand them. And then somebody like, and I'm more of a business counselor, business advisor, and I tell people, don't ever believe me, but take my ideas and then ask your friends, ask your family, ask your customers, because you can get bad advice unintentionally. But a lot of times you just got to get out there and do it. And I kind of thought maybe your question had a little more to do with maybe where do you look for investors or lending sources? I don't know if you were thinking that direction.
I'm not at that stage yet.
Okay.
Working on
But just getting it together. Absolutely. Yeah. And I really highly recommend, the three of us here is a good place to start.
I was wondering, for an individual who's considering starting a business, but they're not certain what they want to do. Are there any approaches you might recommend for that type of person? Are there particular blogs? Do you start at the library and look at market trends? Let's say you're just open-minded and you want to start a business. What would you suggest?
Are there any books back there?
I guess I would think that it'd be important for you to spend time thinking about things that you are interested in and if hopefully something that you're passionate about, because the most successful businesses, I think, people involved in them are really passionate about what they're doing and feel they get a lot of satisfaction from it and feel like they're providing a service or product that is a benefit. So I think that's kind of a place to start if you can kind of sit down and think about what you're interested in, what would be enjoyable and what would give you some satisfaction. I think that would be a great way to begin.
You bet. I think that's good advice. You mentioned the book E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. And there he talks about some of the common mistakes small businesses make when they're thinking about starting a business. And I often recommend to my clients that you think of yourself as a leader building a team. That's not easy. It's a lot easier to do it yourself. But usually when you do a business by yourself, you're not going to make that much money. You get very limited. And business owners have a lot of demands on their time. So a lot of times it puts you in a position where you need to think of yourself as a leader building a team. And the book, E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber, has a lot of great ideas for helping you, hopefully making some of that transition, building strong processes inside of your business, looking at the numbers, but understanding that your business ideas, and again, there's a wealth of resources for business ideas, but finding that thing that Bill was talking about, what can you get really excited about? What can you get passionate about? And ultimately, you have to turn it over to trust people. You have to trust other people with your business. Some people love their business so much, they get so passionate, so excited. And I've talked to all kinds of business owners, and they go, no, I can't hire anybody because nobody will do it as good as me. And then we have that conversation, and I watch them turn it over to other amazing people, and their businesses grow and flourish. So anyway, it is something you got to be very passionate about, but still think of yourself as a leader building a team.
That is an excellent book, the E-Myth by Michael Gerber. It talks about avoiding the trap where if you're doing everything yourself, you wind up really with a job rather than a business, and in that job, you're spending more time and more frustration than you did maybe when you were employed with someone else. It's an excellent book to read. I think there's a lot of great insights.
And if you would invest the time to go talk with Bill and his staff and really understand the numbers of your business, this is where you see the opportunities to add staff, add equipment, add locations. And it's not that scary once you kind of, because you're already good at what you do. You're an industry expert, but you come and get the numbers behind it, and then all of a sudden, and again, the industry trends, and you understand, what's happening in your industry. It can give you a lot of confidence to take those next steps and to understand what kind of funding you need or help you need. And again, these gentlemen here have excellent resources to help your business move forward faster.
There's an old saying that says two are better than one. Well, maybe a team is better than two, huh?
Yeah.
And with that in mind, I'm wondering if someone doesn't want to have a business by themselves, but they want to look at maybe partnering with other people. Do you know of any resources or groups or associations that people can join, meetup groups or what have you, that have this kind of business focus of starting a business? Is there anywhere that anybody can go and find that out?
If I could just mention the Chamber of Commerce and the Downtown Association, when you network with businesses, even being in a room like this, and just rub shoulders with other business owners, I have met many, many people, talented people, who are looking for those opportunities to partner or to work for great companies. But you got to get out there and meet people. And so, meetup.com is a good way, to find those type of startup groups. On Facebook and LinkedIn, there are many, many startup groups. However, nothing will replace getting out actually in front of people like with the Auburn Area Chamber of Commerce. Plug. So.
So my question is more around, you already have a business. You're trying to figure out if you want to scale it, change it, grow it, and how that happens. And when you grow it, you may meet the needs of a number of other people, a population, and you can assess that easily, I think, with some of the data you're talking about. But in that growth, there's also that collateral damage. There's people who won't grow with the company or fit the mold or fit where you're going. And how to assess those variables and put them into a plan that makes sense.
Were you talking mostly about like current employees not fitting into the mold, or are you talking about customer groups?
Yes.
Yes, yes? Do you know, I work with a lot of growing businesses, and I'll just mention that a lot of the times the people who got you to this point in your business are usually not the same people who can get you to the next point. It requires sometimes a higher level of skill and talent, but the people you have can maintain where you're at. So the new term today is talent management. And when you're assessing, how do I grow, how do I scale, you will often think in terms of the capabilities your business needs. And today, HR firms, HR recruiting firms are amazing at helping you locate that talent. And you're going to pay a couple $1,000s to get the help of an HR recruiting firm. But they interview the people, they do psychological testing so that you'll know if they're steady, stable, if they're going to show up on time, if they're going to steal from you or use drugs. I mean, it's pretty amazing how that has evolved. But really, Jim Collins in the book Good to Great, he said that the entire growth of your business is dependent upon how fast you can find the right people to put into your business. So I think, again, that takes a little bit of that planning, forethought, understanding the capabilities, but involving sometimes a professional service to help you identify those people. One of the biggest frustrations business owners have is I hired this person, I trained them, and they didn't work out. I think the statistics are 76% of new hires don't work out in the first 6 months. So when you use a hiring service like that, it greatly increases the odds. So, we're living in a world today where people really specialize, have certain specialties for accounting, for information, for business. But in this case, we're talking about like an HR specialist. And whether it's graphic design or website, you got to really think of those capabilities your business needs and make the investment. And sometimes that's hard. But I've had so many of my clients say, I can't afford that next resource. I can't hire that next specialist. I cannot hire an industry consultant to come in. And in almost every case, you can't afford not to. And I've had them sacrifice. I've had them not pay their bills. Don't listen to me, Bill. They don't. I say, put off paying your bills and get that capability in, and it's paid off every time. So it's a hard leap, but hopefully that was helpful to you. Same thing with your marketing. You'll find that identifying your most profitable customers, leaving the rest behind for your competitors, benefits you and puts you ahead of your competition.
Stick around and ask the panelists some more questions. If you have a very personal question you need to ask about your business, I'm sure that they'd be happy to help you out with that. Thanks again for coming.
Thank you. A real pleasure.